Hi, I'm Jamie Bordas. Welcome to another episode of the Bordas and Bordas Legal Review. Each week we talk about relevant legal topics with a guest, and this week's guest is one of my law partners, Chris Regan, who is also a former national debate champion. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hello, Jamie.
Today we're going to be talking about the presidential debate that recently happened between President Barack Obama and Republican nominee Mitt Romney. And, your experience in debate is varied and historical in some ways because you were a national debate champion. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I started out at a Catholic school in western New York called McQuaid Jesuit High School, where I tried to join the debate team. And they actually said that I was too young for it. They wouldn't allow me to join as a freshman, so shortly thereafter I left that school and went to Bishop Kearney High School, another Catholic school run by Irish Christian Brothers, where they said, you can join. And I went on to have a long career, some 200 debates, including some in Israel and Scotland and Canada, competing internationally on behalf of the United States, as well as a number of debates here in America, including the Catholic National Championship in 1993, where we were lucky enough to win. And
of course, now you've been practicing law in Wheeling here for as your 13th year at the firm Bordas and Bordas, and in a lot of ways, the law can build upon debate. Why is that?
Well, I mean, studies are almost unanimous that the number one fear that people have is public speaking. More than death, more than dying in a car crash, more than disease. And so an academic career in debate allows you to overcome that, allows you to be comfortable speaking in front of an audience, whether it's a judge or a jury or potential clients, whether it's appearing on your program here. And once you beat that fear out of yourself through experience and practice and preparation, you're able to enjoy and take advantage of the opportunity to persuade people of a position. It's something that's useful in politics, but also in law, in medicine, in other professions. Anytime you have the ability to explain and to teach and describe and persuade ideas, you are really embarking on one of the great pursuits that we're able to have.
Well, today we're going to be talking about the presidential debate that recently took place, and analysts across the country have almost unanimously opined that Mitt Romney won the debate, and I guess you're no different, and many people believe that. But today we're going to analyze perhaps why Mitt Romney was able to win the debate, and also later on talk about what the president may need to do the next time around in order to turn the pendulum back his way, and what Mitt Romney may need to do to build upon the momentum. So let's get right to that. First of all, why do you believe that overall Mitt Romney was the winner in the first presidential debate?
Well, Jamie, I think there's two cornerstones to any type of oral presentation that you make. One is your preparation, and the other is your presentation. A poorly prepared speaker is not going to be successful persuading anybody, no matter how slick he is. Because you're going to be exposed over an hour and a half of debate on national TV, people are going to figure out that you're not very well prepared. But likewise, no matter how well you prepare, no matter how much you memorize, no matter how many facts you know, if you don't have the skill to present it effectively, you can also fall apart. And we saw both of those factors in play for both Governor Romney and President Obama in the debate. For example, I'd like to show a clip to your audience from early on in the debate. About 7 minutes into this debate, Governor Romney really took control with a passage in which he laid out a number of points about how he felt that simply the middle class had been crushed, as he repeatedly said, under President Obama's leadership the last 4 years. And that was a powerful message that he delivered. Let's take a look.
Okay.
Well, sure. I'd like to clear up the record and go through piece by piece. First of all, I don't have a $5 trillion tax cut. I don't have a tax cut of the scale that you're talking about. My view is that we ought to provide tax relief to people in the middle class. But I'm not going to reduce the share of taxes paid by high-income people. High-income people are doing just fine in this economy. They'll do fine whether you're president or I am. The people who are having the hard time right now are middle-income Americans. Under the president's policies, middle-income Americans have been buried. They're just being crushed. Middle-income Americans have seen their income come down by $4,300. This is a tax in and of itself. I'll call it the economy tax. It's been crushing. the same time, gasoline prices have doubled under the president. Electric rates are up. Food prices are up. Health care costs have gone up by $2,500 a family. Middle-income families are being crushed. And so the question is how to get them going again. And I've described it. It's energy and trade, the right kind of training programs, balancing our budget, and helping small business. Those are the cornerstones of my plan.
One of the things that's interesting in that first clip, Chris, is that not only does Governor Romney seem prepared, but he almost seems like he's lecturing to the president.
That's absolutely correct, Jamie. What you see in that clip is not only what Governor Romney is saying, but how he goes about saying it. He's looking right at the president, right in his eyes, and saying, under your leadership, the middle class has been crushed in this country. And the forcefulness of his presentation is accentuated by the facts and figures he delivered about gas prices, food prices, the cost of health care, things that most Americans are familiar with in their daily lives. And so that is classic, excellent debating right there. He shows both that he's well prepared and that he's forcefully presenting those points. Now, that was something that President Obama, who has displayed that in the past, was unable to display in this particular debate.
You know, one of the things also that you mentioned was that the middle class being crushed, and of course that was building upon something that Vice President Biden had said in the hours leading up to the debate, and Governor Romney was able to take advantage of that there.
That's right. Unlike academic debate, interscholastic debate when I was a young kid participating in that, in political debate, sound bites are of critical importance. Governor Romney used that word crushed 3 or 4 times, playing off what Biden had said and getting set up for what is bound to be a commercial that's going to come out, airing in swing states, and letting everybody know that theme that Governor Romney wanted to establish. President Obama has allowed the middle class to get crushed. And it's something you can remember, it's simple, and he delivers it, and now he can show footage of him saying it right to the president's face.
And of course, one of the things with respect to the presidential debate is even though Governor Romney seemed like he was lecturing to the president, his audience is really the American public who's out there watching. And he did a great job during the debate of connecting with people through the use of stories and giving some type of personal connection to people, which was interesting because a lot of people thought that the knock on Governor Romney is that he's out of tune with the American public as a whole and that perhaps the president would be able to capture or take advantage of that, but it happened just the other way around.
That's right, and that leads right into the next clip I'd like for us to take a chance to look at here. Governor Romney effectively used storytelling and personal experiences throughout his debate presentation. And in this next clip, we're going to see him tell a story about a friend of his. It's not someone he gives a name. It's not something you can necessarily check the facts on. But it's some electrician business friend of his, and he gives a description of how the economy has affected that individual. Let's take a look at it.
And I talked to a guy who has a very small business. He's in the electronics business in St. Louis. He has 4 employees. He said he and his son calculated how much they pay in taxes. Federal income tax, federal payroll tax, state income tax, state sales tax, state property tax, gasoline tax. It added up to well over 50% of what they earned. And your plan is to take the tax rate on successful small businesses from 35% to 40%. The National Federation of Independent Businesses has said that will cost 700,000 jobs. I don't want to cost jobs.
We were able to see another example there of Governor Romney really, talking about things that connect with the middle class, jobs. Jobs was certainly one of his themes of the night.
Absolutely. He gets to one of his themes, and he also uses a personal story that people will remember. Hey, this poor fella, he's in the electrician business. He's paying 50% of what he earns in taxes, or so we're led to believe. But what this is a great illustration of, Jamie, in debate, is just debating well doesn't mean that what you're saying is true. What Governor Romney doesn't explain, and what most people don't understand, unless they're a financial or a legal professional, is that high rates of tax like that under our system aren't paid on a person's entire income. In fact, if someone is paying the highest federal tax rate, currently about 32%, they only pay that rate on the money they make over the cutoff of, let's say, $250,000. So until you're taking home $250,000 on a lesser rate, you don't ever pay that rate. And you pay that rate only on what you earn above the cutoff. But that's very hard to explain in the midst of a presidential debate. It's very hard to soundbite it. And because of that, Governor Romney takes advantage of that and sets an image in people's mind of paying more than half of your earnings in taxes. And once again, you have that feeling that you're being crushed by that. But it's not entirely true. but it was very effective debating at the moment.
We need to take a break. When we come back, we'll be speaking with Wheeling attorney and former national debate champion Chris Regan as he analyzes the first presidential debate, and we'll talk about what the President and Governor Romney need to do the second time around in order to try to improve upon their performance from the first time. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Bordas and Bordas Legal Review. Today we're speaking with Wheeling attorney and former national debate champion Chris Regan as we analyze the first presidential debate, and later on we'll be talking about what may happen the next time around. Chris, we've already taken a look at some of the things that Governor Romney did well in the first debate. We're going to take a look now at some of the things that President Obama did that perhaps led him to not taking the evening. And the first thing is, he uses sarcasm at some point. Is there a place for sarcasm in debate?
Well, it's very difficult to use effectively in a debate, Jamie. People are always talking about how they don't want to hear negativity from the candidates. They want to hear a positive plan. What are you going to do to help me? To get our economy moving again, to get the country on the right track. And so anything that smacks of sarcasm or negativity towards the other side really is difficult to do effectively, and this next clip illustrates that.
All right, well, let's take a look at that.
Jim, you may want to move on to another topic, but I would just say this to the American people. If you believe that we can cut taxes by $5 trillion and add $2 trillion in additional spending that the military is not asking for, $7 trillion, just to give you a sense, over 10 years, that's more than our entire defense budget. And you think that by closing loopholes and deductions for the well-to-do, somehow you will not end up picking up the tab, then Governor Romney's plan may work for you. But I think math, common sense, and our history shows us that's not a recipe for job growth. Look, we've tried this. We've tried both approaches. The approach that Governor Romney is talking about is the same sales pitch that was made in 2001 and 2003. And we ended up with the slowest job growth in 50 years. We ended up moving from surplus to deficits, and it all culminated in the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression.
One of the things that's interesting, Chris, is that President Obama actually says, if this is for you, then Governor Romney's plan may be for you. Maybe a bad idea to tell anybody that his plan may be for them or he may be your candidate.
Oh, that's exactly right. He basically describes Governor Romney's case in what he thinks is a very negative way. Again, using essentially a sarcastic undertone to what he's saying. Well, if you believe Governor Romney's figures, I've got a bridge I can sell you, in Arizona. But it's not really working for him, because where's his positive case? People don't want to hear that President Obama doesn't agree with Governor Romney's figures. That doesn't take them anywhere in terms of whom to vote for. What they'd like to hear is, who's going to help me? And quite frankly, in this country, we've believed for a long time that we can borrow more money and spend more money and become more prosperous that way. And so the sarcasm doesn't connect. And that was emblematic of President Obama's night. He was not connecting with people and giving them a positive reason to vote for him.
Now, later on in the debate, President Obama does do a nice job of changing the subject in a way, which is a skill in debate that can be very difficult to learn, but it can be very effective if someone does learn it and uses it the proper way.
And that's a good point. Again, this is a difference between academic debate and political debate. In an academic debate, you're constrained by the topic, and our judges typically hold us to that. But that's not true in political debate at all. In political debate, the speakers should work hard to change the subject to their prepared talking points, the things that they want to say, again, their positive case for why someone should vote for them. And President Obama was able to do that on several occasions.
Let's take a look at this next clip and see an example of that.
Mr. President, please respond directly to what the governor just said about trickle-down, his trickle-down approach, as he said yours is.
Well, let me talk specifically about what I think we need to do. First, we've got to improve our education system.
One thing that's interesting is that Jim Lehrer was the moderator for this debate and has gotten some criticism for allowing the candidates to change the subject and at times allowing them to talk over him and go beyond their time limits. How's that compared to what happens in an academic debate?
Oh, well, you would never see that. I mean, the time limits are rigorously enforced. No one is allowed to change the subject or go over their time. But this is different. I mean, these two gentlemen aren't running for a cheap plastic trophy and a prize as a high school debater. They want to be president of the United States. So showing that ability to control the moderator is often considered by commentators on political debate to be a showing of strength, to show that they are impressive in their ability to command the room and even cow the moderator into allowing them to change the topic, to speak over time, to get an extra turn. And we saw quite a bit of that in this debate, not only by President Obama in that last clip, but also by Governor Romney on a number of occasions.
One of the things you said earlier is that there are two important components with respect to a debate. One is being prepared, and the other is, the execution of the delivery. And the president had some issues with both in this first debate, with looking prepared, and then also at times when he was prepared, perhaps delivering it in a manner that that made the point.
That's right. A lot of people have noted that President Obama was frequently looking down at his notes, looking tired, looking distracted, and appearing almost diffident and disinterested in his own presentation. Now, keep in mind, he's the president of the United States. He's got a big job. Governor Romney has been running for president continuously for 6 years. He's in one of these debates every month, so he has nothing to do except practice. He goes to the Olympics to see his wife's horse compete. He has no job except to get ready for this, and it showed. The president has a lot more on his plate, and it certainly affected his ability to be effective in this debate.
Well, and of course, as the American public, we want our president running the country. We don't want him just practicing for trying to get reelected. But at the same time, with respect to the delivery, that was an issue at times too. So let's take a look at this next clip to see perhaps an example of the delivery being an issue.
When I walked into the Oval Office, I had more than $1 trillion deficit greeting me. And we know where it came from. 2 wars that were paid for on a credit card, 2 tax cuts that were not paid for, and a whole bunch of programs that were not paid for, and then a massive economic crisis. And despite that, what we've said is, yes, we had to take some initial emergency measures to make sure we didn't slip into a Great Depression. But what we've also said is, let's make sure that we are cutting out those things that are not helping us grow. So 77 government programs, everything from aircrafts that the Air Force had ordered but weren't working very well. 18 government programs for education that were well-intentioned but weren't helping kids learn. We went after medical fraud in Medicare and Medicaid very aggressively, more aggressively than ever before, and have saved tens of billions of dollars, $50 billion of waste taken out of the system. And I worked with Democrats and Republicans to cut $1 trillion out of our discretionary domestic budget. That's the largest cut in the discretionary domestic budget since Dwight Eisenhower. Now, we all know that we've got to do more.
Well, Chris, we saw there that the president obviously was prepared because he put forth a lot of facts and figures and things like that. But for someone who's been known as a great orator, such as President Obama, and has delivered some fantastic speeches, such as the one he gave at the Democratic National Convention this year, some that he's given in the past, the delivery just wasn't what you would expect from him.
No, that's exactly right, Jamie, and that's a problem in both preparation and presentation, because that was clearly a memorized set piece. I mean, the president doesn't have figures like that, 17 out of so many programs and different dollar figures at his disposal all the time. He planned to say that, but you saw there was no consistent theme, such as what we saw Romney earlier talking about the middle class being crushed, and the presentation was almost sort of meandering and didn't have any passion behind it. And above all, in there was no reason given why somebody would want to vote for President Obama, having heard him say those things. And so, that's an example of how he really failed to persuade, to grab people and say, this is why you need me as your president. That portion of the debate and a number of answers he gave that were very similar to that just didn't add up to, this is my guy.
Well, Chris, the next time around, the next debate will be a town hall setting as opposed to a moderator with the 2 candidates up at podiums, and there'll be citizens asking the questions. What does the president need to do the next time around? And Candy Crawley from CNN will be the moderator. What does the president need to do in order to perform better than he did this time?
Well, I mean, in the town hall format, the questions come from ordinary voters, and the ordinary voters are almost always asking questions along the lines of, how can you help me? And one thing President Obama needs to be very careful about is not doing what he did in that last clip, which is beginning with a story about his problems. When I took office, there was so much in debt, so much going on in terms of these wars. Nobody cares about his problems. They want to hear about their problems. And so the town hall format was where Bill Clinton demonstrated his mastery of political debate by always empathizing and connecting with the voters' problem. Even if he couldn't fix that problem, he always conveyed how much he cared about their problems. And people love that. They really believe in it. And when they feel like they've connected personally, like the president has made them feel as though he cares about them, that's a way to win votes. It's won a lot of votes in the past, and I think that's going to be President Obama's chief task, is making people believe in the town hall format that he cares about the problems that people are experiencing all across this country.
Governor Romney was able to gain some significant momentum as a result of his performance in the debate. What does he need to do? Does he just need to kind of make sure he doesn't lose the debate the next time around, or does he need to do something to build upon his first performance?
Well, he's got the toughest task of all, because as you pointed out at the beginning, everybody agrees that Governor Romney was the runaway winner of this first debate. So expectations are going to be sky high for him going into the town hall debate. And typically he has not been strong connecting with the ordinary person. Mitt Romney has been titanically wealthy for most of his life. And things like the cost of bread and eggs and gas have not been a factor for him. And he doesn't relate well necessarily to the ordinary voter. So he's going to have to triple down on his preparation, trying to come up with the kind of personal stories and anecdotes that will make it believable that even as a very successful, very wealthy businessman, he nonetheless empathizes with the problems ordinary Americans are having in the economy.
Well, Chris, thanks for being with us today so we could draw upon your experience as a debater to analyze the first presidential debate and talk about what the candidates need to do the next time around. I appreciate you being here today.
Happy to do it, Jamie, anytime.
Thanks for being with us today on the Bordas & Bordas Legal Review. Join us next week for another episode of the Bordas & Bordas Legal Review.